With the Moon Boy setting and defending the highest weekly close in over 4 months, is a mega switcheroo dumpathon right around the corner? Or will Bitcoin initiate its largest pumpasode to infinity and beyond? So if you know from the bottom of your heart that before the biggest pumps, sometimes you have to get dumped on, hit that like, hit that subscribe, get signed up to FEMEX below if you want to buy Bitcoin or altcoins. And without any further ado, let's absolutely take a look at what has happened over the last few days. Last time I posted a video was about, I think, like 3 or 4 days ago. And a lot has happened in that time. And in fact, the weekly chart for Bitcoin looks fantastic. We got a very good weekly close. We got a weekly candle close above all 3 of the weekly candles from the middle of June the middle of July to the very end of July. So the entire, second half of July, which was the highest Bitcoin was up until this point. We spent a lot of time getting dumped on, a lot of the time below the 21-week moving average, a lot of the time barely hanging on to the 50-week moving average, this blue line. But we hung on. Things got a little bit dicey back at the very beginning of August when we had our biggest dumpasode all the way down. Keep in mind, where was this massive candle right here? This massive, ended up being a bullish candle, a massive wick that kind of, if you remember back then, I personally, when I saw that candle close, I thought, wow, actually, this is a pretty good indication this is the bottom because of how big the wick was, how quickly it was bought up, and the formation of this like inverse head and shoulders pattern. But anyway, the point is we went right down a little bit below 50,000 US dollars. The other 2 lows of the last 6 months are here at about 53 and here at about 53 also. A little bit higher here, but both right around 53. But really, 50,000 was incredibly well defended. And that was really important. So anyway, we fast forward to now, our highest weekly candle close, going all the way back to basically June. If we really zoom in, June, but you can see that was we topped out there. You could see momentum was dying. You can see these candles were the opposite of this candle, where we have this massive wick showing a lot of buy pressure. Here we had 3 weekly candles with the opposite, a lot of sell pressure right at about 70K that was showing us, wow, we're not able to defend 70K. And ultimately, that's what happened. We ended up then going to 53, getting another rejection right at 70K and going down to about 50. So anyway, very good weekly candle close. Now, what happens from here on out? Well, in my opinion, we got the weekly candle close we wanted. We also got very bullish tip touch on the MACD. This is now in bullish territory for the very first time that it has switched since all the way back in October of last year. And that lasted from October of 2023 to about April of 2024. So a solid 6 months. But obviously the momentum really started to die towards the middle of March on the MACD. So Bitcoin had a really good close. That's good. Now, honestly, there's 2 things we need to look for. Retesting this trend line. Okay, so that involves potentially some further downside, but also potentially even retesting or coming down to, I don't want to say all the way here. Actually, if we look to a daily chart, I think a better illustration here would be the 200-day moving average. Going back down to 63,000 US dollars, maybe even in a wick all the way down to 60,000 US dollars would not be a bad thing. And so I'm telling you this because Bitcoin just initiated pretty much from the very beginning of September to now. Well, how big of a move that was. About a 32% move, about a almost $20,000 move to the upside. And it's in a very strong position. Now, if we just look on a daily chart like this, maybe we'll have to come back, retest 63, 62,000 before bounce or not. I'm not saying we have to do any of that, but all I'm saying is this structure is really good. And in the long term, medium term as well, this is looking fantastic. The short term has the possibility of also being very strong and very good. I just, I think in the short term, it could go either way just because we basically got what we needed. And I don't want to get greedy. And I think, that's really the point of what I'm saying is I think a lot of people, maybe, I don't even know what most people are thinking, but I think sometimes people are thinking, oh, we went up, now we just have to keep going straight up. Maybe, and I think we're actually coming to the point where that's going to be the case very soon. As I've said a million times, I think that we're about to see another right? Another one of these. I think we're about to see the second leg of this. I think we're about to go up big time. I think we're about to go, well above $100,000 per Bitcoin in the next few months. And what's even crazier is I personally think it could happen before this year even ends. That's my opinion. However, in the very, very, very short term, I would just be a little cautious until we get more confirmations. Now, one of the main things I want to look at too is that we had this all-time high back in the middle of March at about almost 74,000 US dollars. And then we had a series of, for about like 8 months, a low, lower high, lower low, and then another lower low, but then 2 lower highs, lower low. And we see this pattern of just each low was lower, each high was lower. And as I've said, and what's so important and bullish and exciting about where we are now is that we put in our first higher low here at the beginning of September. We put in our first higher high then about a couple weeks later at the end of September. Then we put in another higher low at the very beginning of October. And now just within the last few days, we have put in another higher high. So we're seeing this change. And I have them, right, green is higher lows and higher highs. Red is lower highs and lower lows. But this is where this pattern really started to change. And these are the things you want to identify before the massive breakouts. And they're identified, right? So that's fantastic. Really, this is a very straightforward, and I can give you literally exact numbers to what I think is important. Basically, we don't want the lows going below 59,000. Or really, let's be honest, we probably don't want them to go close to 60. Meaning, like, let's say over the next week or so, we see something like this. That's actually, in terms of structure and momentum and everything, totally normal, and also could be fantastically bullish, basically the number one bullish scenario. And then let's say we would get a pullback to something like that, as long as we would then subsequently go above the highs we already have put in, about 69,420. Nice. Which is kind of crazy. I think the high we've put in over the last 48 hours is right around 69,420. This market is just a meme, basically. Absolutely insane. The highs from 2021, I believe, were also wasn't it 69,000? Yeah, it was 69,420, which is absolutely crazy. But when we put in those all-time highs in March of 2024, that's when we finally broke 70K for the first time and went all the way up to about almost 74,000. So really, this structure looks fantastic in my opinion, as long as we get anything. If we get a pullback, as long as we remain above this level right here, so basically above 60,000, and as long as, let's say we do that, and let's say then we put in highs above where we are here, anywhere above about 69, nice. So here, so something like this, boing, boing. That fantastic. And this structure is absolutely fantastic. Be beautiful. I also think it's really important to note that at any moment we could also just see this thing really start to lift off and go parabolic. But I'm just trying to give you a downside scenario because we did do something pretty important. It's kind of crazy that actually that weekly ended up being very strong because it didn't have to be. It could have gotten a rejection and it didn't. It showed a lot more strength when it could have not shown the strength. So realistically, this is still an ultra bullish scenario. We also obviously have pointed this out as well. The daily chart has a bullish cross as well, with the 21 going above the 200-day moving average right here. This green line going above this white line on the daily. The last time this happened was quite literally back in October of 2023 before Bitcoin pumped over $50,000. It had a $50,000 pump. We just got that same signal again. It's huge. This is clearly the last level of big resistance that exists is ironically right around 69,000, nice, to about 70,000. So 69 to 70,000. 70,000 is the last big number of resistance. If we're talking 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 70,000 is the last big one that we haven't broken yet. We have RSI confirmation of bullishness. We have MACD confirmation of bullishness. We have daily chart confirmation on the moving averages and a golden cross, a bullish cross of the 21 going above the 200. We have Bitcoin defending this 21-week moving average with this latest move right here last week. Very strong because you can see this candle, it almost didn't. It almost, I mean, look at it. Actually, let's zoom in here. We had this pump here towards the beginning of September, all throughout the month. We stopped for a few weeks. We got a pullback. We dumped all the way down to about 59,000. But look where the closes are. We had this weekly close above the 21 week. We had this weekly close just barely, like literally barely above it. And then last week, look what happened. Mega pump right off the 21 week. So, I mean, so first of all, anyone saying that technical analysis is useless or something, I mean, look at this. It's literally like the last few weeks have been perfect in terms of doing what it needed to do to continue bullish momentum. It did what it needed to do these few weeks. And because it did that, then it initiated a mega pump. So we're still in a really good place. That doesn't mean we're just going to go straight up yet. I personally think we will go straight up actually soon if we can concretely break just 70,000. All-time highs are right around 74-ish thousand US dollars. We don't have to get to 74 before I would get like mega bullish. Obviously, if we break a new all-time high and go above 74,000, obviously that's mega bullish. But if you're waiting to put in your long position until we break a new all-time high, usually that's not like the best strategy because you're not going to maximize gains, right? You usually want to try to identify it a little before. Once we actually break all-time highs, everybody and their grandma are going to be putting in long positions, right? And when that happens, the market's probably going to do what it does and have a quick dump candle and then a pump candle and a dump and just shake people out. So you want to ideally have positions set and profitable before that happens. And how do you do that? Well, you identify trends earlier, like we've been doing, like we've been talking about with these indicators, the moving averages, the RSI, the MACD, all these things, not even like complex indicators, like basic indicators. But yeah, anyway, point is this chart, when you really zoom out and look on a monthly time frame pretty much, I think we're about to start completely gobbling up some gains. Gobbling gains like we've never seen. Now, it is important the stock market as well is it's on about a downtrend for the last week or so. It's not bad at all. I mean, it's just pulling back a little bit. But, I mean, the DXY is also still on the rise, but Bitcoin has still been doing very, very well despite that. And ultimately, yeah, Bitcoin's just in a really good spot. I personally think, I mean, this daily chart illustrates it well. Maybe we will get a pullback down to 63, down to the 21-week moving average, down to the 21-week moving average, 200-week moving average. That's fine. We did what we needed to do in these candles. And honestly, if bullish pressure just chills for another week or so, I'm not worried about it. It's important it's like an ebb and flow. You want, like we just had a really successful pump, a really successful close, really successful confirmation. If we get now that follow through and that pushback from the bearish side, that's okay. That's natural. That will happen. It's never just one way always. So overall, I think we're in a really, really good position, and I think this setup is And get signed up with Femex below if you want to buy Bitcoin or altcoins or trade and receive deposit bonuses. Without further ado,